Hey there, future grad students. So I know you guys have been working really hard. You finished your fall applications on time and now you have received multiple admits. But now comes the tough part. You have to now choose one final university. I get it, it's pretty confusing. When I applied for masters in CS, I had 5 to 6 admission offers. I think I had unfunded, like non-funded offers from UIUC, Colorado Boulder, UIC, Virginia Tech. I had a full funded offer for masters from University of California at Riverside, and I had a PhD offer with full funding from University of Tennessee at Knoxville. So I understand that it's very confusing. In this video, I'm going to share how I decided between multiple admits and how I encourage my clients to do it. So hopefully this will also help you to make the right decision. First things first, I understand it's a very big decision and you must evaluate it carefully. In this video, we are going to use 5 factors to determine how to make this crucial decision, and in the end I'm also going to share a bonus tip with you which, if you follow carefully, will definitely help you make the right choice. So let's jump right in. The first factor is the future prospects. Now, I know that Indian and Asian students are extremely ambitious and driven. And when I was going to study abroad, I was making a big time and money commitment. So obviously, I wanted the best ROI. So my advice is choose a school that will give you the best career prospects towards your dream career. This was the biggest factor for me. And if you're going for MS MBA, I think this should be the biggest factor for you as well. This is why I prefer higher ranked school, because they attract more bigger employers. And if I have to compromise on rank, then I would go with these eight cities in US, which is NYC, Boston, Seattle, Silicon Valley, Austin, Miami, Chicago, and Dallas. So any schools around these areas can also be good for us because they will have employers around you. We have already covered this in a previous video on 45 Indian friendly universities, so please check it out. Another factor that determines your career prospects is the industry friendliness. For example, if you're studying semiconductor or tech related courses, you would find more job opportunities near Silicon Valley, Austin, Portland, and Boston. And if you're going for automotive or mechanical courses, then obviously Detroit, Houston, Boston, and San Francisco are the places to be. Second factor is, of course, the budget. Coming from India, I was really sensitive to the cost of my whole education. So this is where you need to compare the cost of education, which includes your tuition fee, living cost, etc., and also the funding prospects between your different options. Sometimes they have not given you funding at the get-go, but you might be able to find funding after you have landed there. This is something we have covered in detail in our funding masterclasses and previous video. But the point is, you want to find out what are the funding options at each of these universities and then compare them accordingly. This will give you a sense of what is the financial commitment you need to study at this place. Now let's look at my options. So I had full funding from UC Riverside and Tennessee Knoxville, but they were quite lower in ranking. And I felt that my career prospects would be much better if I go to a higher ranked university. So I decided to find out what will be my funding options if I choose a higher ranked schools. Now, as I approached or talked to the current students at other schools, I found out that all master students at UIUC had secured some sort of funding. This was a very positive news, and therefore I kept UIUC in my list, because if I'm able to find funding at UIUC, it would be a no-brainer because it is such a high-ranked school. And I removed UIC from my list at this point because it was much lower ranked from UIUC, but equally expensive, so it did not make sense to keep it in. I still kept CU Boulder and Virginia Tech because there also I thought that I had a decent chances of finding funding at those schools as well. Now here's a pro tip for you guys. If you are financially constrained, then you should prefer schools in Texas, which is overall cheaper. Even among Ivy Leagues, which are usually very expensive and not aid friendly, among the top ranked universities, I have seen people getting aid at MIT, Stanford, UIUC, UT Austin, and University of Michigan, but aid chances are much lower at Columbia, CMU, and Cornell. So please choose accordingly, right? And in times of recession and bad job markets, I feel that every penny that you can save really matters. So keep these things in mind as you are evaluating the financial budget of your education. Third factor is understand your priorities. Of course, we want a good career, we want to save money and all those things, but everyone has some personal preferences and dreams. For example, prestige of the school really mattered to me. For somebody else, you might be looking for a very strong research program. Somebody's dream might be to just study in a vibrant city like New York City. So it's really important for you to pay attention to what is the core motivation and what will make you really happy in your master's education, and eliminate any school which does not fulfill that for you. So now coming back to my options, many people were actually amazed that why am I leaving full funded options and taking the risk of going to UIUC, because it was possible that I might not have found funding, and of course I had to take a 30 lakh loan, which I have covered in many of our previous videos. So it was a risk I was taking. But here is my reason. UIUC was world's 5th best computer science school, and I was coming from tier 2, tier 3 colleges until that point. So I felt like if I go to such a prestigious program, it's going to take my profile up a notch, and that really mattered to me. And this is why I did all this hustle and figured out how I could make UIUC work for me instead of settling for UC Riverside or other schools. Now figure out what is important for you, and here's a note that if you're going for PhD, then overall rank of the university does not matter as much. What you should be focusing on is the quality of research and professors in your department and areas of interest, because your professor and advisor will determine a lot of things in your future. So make sure you choose a school where there is good stuff of research going on in your field. Now I do want to cover edge case from one of my clients here. One of my clients got admitted into CMU MISM 12-month track. It's a very prestigious degree and people die to get into it. But this guy went there, he did not like it and quit it in middle of his session. So he never finished his degree. And when I asked what happened, he told me that he did not like the vibe. He said there were too many Indians and there was a long waiting list for every course that he wanted to take. So he felt that the study abroad exposure that he was looking for, he could not get that in this program. Now this was a shocking news obviously, because people die to get into this program, and many people would be very, very happy to attend a program where there are more Indians because they would feel more at home. But it did not work for this guy. So what I'm trying to say is understand what you want and what you don't want and pick programs accordingly. Nobody else can tell you what's right for you. So make sure you do this homework, because you don't want to end up like my client. After all this hard work, you land at some place and then you realize that this is not what you want. You don't want to be in that position. Now, once you have decided where you are heading, I know you will be worrying about finding a good and affordable student accommodation. And this is where I want to thank and introduce the today's sponsor of our video, which is UniEcho. It is a global student accommodation leader which has more than 3 million beds in over 10 countries. They have already helped 6 million students make booking across 10,000 properties worldwide. I also like their student-friendly policies such as no university, no pay, no deposit, and free of charge services. And lastly, you can really make a lot of savings when you go with them with cashbacks, Amazon vouchers, and making group bookings where you can get huge discounts. Also, if you refer a friend to UniEcho, you can get a free voucher of £100 right away. So what are you waiting for? I'm going to leave their link in the description box below. Check them out and use them to make your student accommodation booking. Now let's get back to our main video. Fourth is the weather. Now, trust me, we Indians are not made for the harsh winters of Midwest. If I had known how horrible the winter would be in Urbana, Champaign, I probably would not have applied there. But anyways, it's really, the cold can be really debilitating in states like Illinois, Michigan, and some of the northeast states. So please be careful when you're making this decision. If you are at all sensitive to weather, or if you have any concerns about mental health conditions or depression, I would not advise you to apply to these locations like Boston, Illinois, Michigan, Chicago, Wisconsin, those kind of places. They are really dark and dreary. Instead, prefer states like Florida, California, and Texas, which have the most Indian-friendly climatic conditions. And on that note, I really do not know how people live and study in Canada because it's extremely, extremely horribly cold. But I guess that's a personal preference. But I do want you to think about this factor because it affects your day-to-day living and performance. Finally, trust your gut. Ultimately, whatever you choose should feel, right to you. And go with a place that makes you feel most comfortable and excited. In my case, I trusted my gut and went to UIUC, even though I had to take a huge loan to go there. And similarly, I've seen some of my clients facing similar situation. For example, Swati had admits from MS in data science at Harvard and MS in CS at UCLA. Very hard to decide, but ultimately she went with UCLA because her gut said so. So listen to yourself and go with what feels right to you. Lastly, there's no better way to get information about a university than talking to those people who are living it. So here's my pro tip. You must talk to current students and alumni from each university you are considering to find out important factors like the cultural vibe of the university, the curriculum depth, the quality of professors, the job opportunities, the availability of scholarships, etc., etc. The mistake that most people make is they ask very generic questions and they are not able to find the valuable information which will really help you make this decision. So here are 3 specific questions that you need to ask to your current students and alumni when you are contacting them at these universities. First question I would ask is, I am interested in XYZ subjects. How strong is the curriculum in these areas? This will help you understand whether curriculum will match your interests and expectations or not. Second question you must ask is, how are you funding your education? Have you been able to find any assistantships? What about your friends? Did they get any sort of funding? This question is very important because it will help you understand whether you can afford this university or not. And this is the question which helped me decide on UIUC because all the current students that I talked to, they told me that they have been able to find funding, which gave me the confidence that if I try hard enough, I should be able to find funding too. And the third question I would ask is, how many career fairs happen in this school? When is the first fair? How easy was it for you to find your internship? Are there any classmates of yours who were not able to land any internship? Again, this sort of very specific question will give you concrete information about the real situation in this universities. So instead, what people do is they ask opinionated kind of question that, hey, do you think I should attend the school? Is this program good? Would you recommend it? These are very subjective questions and people tend to give very vague answers. And obviously, they also don't want to say bad things about their program because they are attending it and it makes them look like they did not make a good choice. So they will never openly say that, hey, this school is horrible or stuff like that. But instead, if you ask specific questions like the ones I've told you, then you will get concrete information which will help you make the right decision. So that's it from my side. I hope the information today will help you make the right decision for your master's degree because it's a crucial decision for you. You have put all this hard work into the application and now it's time to choose. So I hope you make your choice wisely. If you have questions about it, of course, leave comments below and I will get back to it. Stay subscribed and I will see you with fresh new content next week. Take care. Bye.